My name's George Prince. This is the September 10th, 2025 Fisheries Committee meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to remind the committee to please stick to the committee guidelines as much as possible and use the state's requirement sheet. We got a busy agenda tonight, and if we stick to that, I feel like we can move it along at a reasonable speed. So, we'll start with a roll call, starting on the end with Chris.
Chris McIntyre.
Matt Gilly.
Jerry Lehman.
Seth Walker.
Samantha Bohan.
Billy Saxton.
Jay McCrate.
David Wilson. Sorry.
Paul Plummer, Town Harbor Master.
Darcy Kuchar, Deputy Harbor Master.
I guess we start with public comment. None? Any committee announcements?
Yeah, I got one real quick. John Sterling's here, the gentleman sitting in the front with the blue shirt, and he's working with MCF on a working waterfront inventory to create an inventory. And if you wanted to just take a few seconds and speak to it, John, he was recommended by Margaret and myself to come speak to this committee, because, I mean, we're the Fisheries Committee, so if he's taking a working waterfront inventory, what better group to speak to than us? So if you wanted to take a couple seconds and give the group a synopsis, and we can get you, maybe next month when our agenda slows down, we can get you an actual spot.
John, could you go up to the podium, please?
Can you mind going to the mic?
So you got a lot going on tonight, so I will be brief and just say, first of all, I already did appear before the Harbor and Waterfront Committee to talk a little bit about this. And I talked with Paul earlier in the year, very early in the year, as a matter of fact, about the possibility of doing a working waterfront study of Cundy's Harbor, because in 2004, a really terrific report on the working waterfront in Cundy's Harbor was published by the town of Harpswell, and I thought maybe we should think about updating it. And then Maine Coast Fishermen Association, I think they got a grant. They said they want to look at 8 towns up and down the coast and create a very detailed working waterfront portrait of all 8 of those towns. They are underway with this. It's extremely ambitious. If you aren't aware of this, the Maine Coast Fishermen Association, MCFA, created a template, very detailed template, and they want all the towns to fill it out. Well, don't need to tell you how many miles of coastline we have, how big this town is, how challenging it would be to do such a portrait for the entire town of Harpswell. So talk with Paul, talk with Matt, and we agreed that it might indeed make sense to start with Cundy's Harbor. So that's what we're doing, and a little slow during the summer because everybody was just so busy with other things, understandably. I would just like to ask that perhaps this committee would be willing to step forward with a couple of volunteers to help with this, because, you know, Paul's a really busy guy. Matt's kind of busy too. I've got just a few things on my plate, so I want to spend time on this. But if anybody's interested in helping with this, I'd really very much appreciate it. So that's it for now, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is staff updates, experimental lease, public hearing clarification. Is that you, Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to share an email I got back from Amanda Ellis. So there was a question from the committee last month. If this committee makes a recommendation or a request for a public hearing at an experimental lease, would that be sufficient, or does DMR still need 10 separate individuals asking for a public hearing or requesting a public hearing? And Amanda did respond and said that they do need 10 separate requests. So I want to make sure that, you know, the committee can certainly request one, but you'll be considered one. So, but individuals from this committee could absolutely request them.
Okay. Thank you. So we've got several LPAs to look at tonight. I guess I have a question for you, Paul. Do we want to look at these 4 from Birch Island? Well, I guess there's 1 and then 3 that are together. Do we want to look at those as a whole or one at a time?
So each applicant should be their own, obviously.
Okay.
And so, for example, Seth White just has 1.
Right.
Chris Hedberg has 3, and Nate Ingersoll has 4. The Hedberg ones are all pretty similar. especially in location and species. Ingersoll is kind of spaced out a little bit, so you might want to. The Hedberg one you can probably do as a one,
Okay.
because they're so close together. The other ones you might want to discuss individually.
All right, so let's start with Seth White, seeing how that one's by itself.
Yeah, so for those who don't know me, I grow urchins, oysters, and seaweed over right off of Birch Island. In that exact spot, my father has 2 LPAs for oysters we use as our nursery. What we're proposing to do here is, in between our 2 LPAs that he already has, put a mooring that could act as a work platform with a pontoon boat. So we have a pontoon boat ready to be used. Through the state regulations, we have to have an LPA to kind of have a work platform that does aquaculture activities. So this is part of the process. But, it's a 25-foot by 9-foot pontoon boat. It's not large. It'll be on a single mooring in between those 2 LPAs that are already there, where we already have kind of a footprint where no traffic comes through because they see those yellow things, those yellow buoys, and go right around. So that's basically what this application is for, is just, a mooring to put a work platform pontoon barge on. Yeah.
And Seth did reach out to apply for a mooring, but he does not meet the half-mile restriction from a legal point of access, so that's why he had to go a different route to apply for this.
Question? Paul?
Yes.
I'm remembering that there aren't any mooring options left. Is that true? And is that part of the problem, or?
You have to be within a half mile of your legal point of access. You either have to own shorefront property or use the town landing, and both. Even Lookout Point is further than a half mile from that.
Okay. But there's still room for more moorings.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as someone can meet that restriction,
Okay.
there's plenty of room.
Thank you.
Would that boat stay right there on that mooring, or would you remove it every time you worked on it? Like, would you bring it there and work on the farm, then leave?
Yeah, ideally it would stay there. It could come to land when needed, like bringing bags or cages out, but ideally I could just leave it on that mooring and then use it as a boat as I'm working, place it back on the mooring.
Any other comments on this? Questions?
Go through your checklist.
Do we go through the checklist for this, or is this different?
It's an LPA, so you might as well go through the checklist just to be consistent. And again, if it's not applicable, we can just say that.
Yeah.
If I may ask, it says tumbler, so you guys are gonna be cleaning your product on this pontoon boat?
We'll have the capabilities, but what I'm working with so far, I'm a small farm.
Yeah.
We don't really wash the oysters till they get back on land because they're not, full of crap. Like they stay pretty clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have the capabilities to wash them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah. But you just got tumbler in because eventually you guys are planning on getting one? Yeah.
A tumbler?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yep. We have a grant in the works where we can electrify that basically, so it's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would be doing tumbling out there. It'd be like Mere Point's work float, or someone's work float out there, but just a pontoon.
Yeah.
That can be moved around.
All right.
So to be clear, you're just asking for a mooring in between 2 of your existing
Essentially-
LPAs already.
Yep. But the
But
pontoon
it
boat.
could be used as a tumbler.
Yep. A work platform.
Anything else? We'll go down through the checklist. Sing out. Does the proposed activity generate any discharge into the coastal waters?
No.
Does the applicant propose to use aquaculture gear on the markings approved by the commissioner and the rules adopted?
Yes.
If an LPA, does the gear exclude mooring equipment cover more than 400 square feet?
No.
Does the proposed activity present an unreasonable impediment to safe navigation? No. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with the ingress and egress of riparian owners? No.
Do we know that answer?
Yeah.
So if it's helpful, I did a site visit when we first got the application, and I did actually take a picture. He was there working. There was no, he's not really close to any docks or wharves. I was approaching it looking for fishing gear, and there was really nothing in that area. It's really up in the kind of shallowy area where there's not a lot of other stuff going on. And when I realized the LPA was going to be literally where his little boat was that he was working on between his two strings, it seemed like a fairly straightforward, unimpeded type of setup.
So no. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with commercial fishing activities? It does not sound like it, since there's already 2 LPAs there. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with recreational fishing? No. Will the proposed activity be unreasonable considering the number of density of other aquaculture activities in the area? They're your LPAs, so.
Yeah, no.
If you want to put yourself out of business, that's on you. Does the proposed location, species, or activity present a risk to public health? No. If an LPA, does the applicant hold more than 3 other limited purpose aquaculture licenses issued by Maine DMR?
This is number 4.
So you do.
You have to get 4.
So the answer is,
Yeah.
Good on that one.
yeah. Is the consent of the riparian owner obtained if the activity is located above the mean low water mark? Not applicable, I'm assuming. I think that's it. I think the next page is just a signature. So. Anybody have any comments? Okay. I think we're good with it, Paul.
Just a quick question, Seth.
Yeah.
How are the oceans?
Growing faster than anticipated. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it gets pretty warm out there, warmer than I thought.
Yeah.
I've seen it, they're 20 feet down. I've seen it get 70 degrees.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Which they don't love, but they eat a lot at that temperature.
Really?
And they're growing quicker. Yeah.
That's very
Yep.
interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That's intrigued me since you brought it
Yeah,
forward.
I know. Happy to share updates. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Good luck.
I know. They never seem to get bigger than a quarter. And that's why we get all this force.
Chris Hedberg, is that
We
correct?
used to eat that stuff.
Yep, go ahead.
Right. They told us we never read it was gold rush. We had so much-
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So I am applying for 3 LPAs that are all close to one another, about 11 feet, I believe, on center, east to west. They're right along the shoreline southeast of Birch Island. They're going to be floating cages there. There's the diagrams, pretty basic, and they'll be anchored on either side, so they'll be fixed north to south. I don't know if anyone has questions. I mean, I've visited the site quite a few times. I haven't noticed commercial activity directly there. More south of these proposals, I've noticed some, and more east by about 1,000 feet or so, in separate occasions. Yeah, that's more or less my proposal.
When did you visit the site?
I was out there September 7th, September 5th, August 23rd, August 20th.
So I guess my comment would be that may not have been commercial fishing there then, but in the earlier season and later season, there definitely will be. To me, this looks like the same footprint that you asked for up to the north, and you've just moved it to the south, basically.
That is correct. I'm still applying for 3 LPAs. I've moved them so they will be a little bit closer to one another, so to be as far away out of the as possible, really. But but that is correct that there are 3 LPAs that are similar in design.
George, I think he's on Upper before, and he's on.
Oh, Lower Birch, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, new sites though.
Yeah.
To clarify, sorry.
I was having a hard time telling, just because they were so close together, are they like in a line, end for end, or are they side by side coming out from shore?
So they would be side by side. If you can see, I know it's quite large and not the footprint that they would be. There is a small line on there, but it'd be very similar to the ebb flood diagram that's on there.
All right.
In the picture that is with the other thing, I sat in the center of the center LPA and took a picture of shore. That's what
Okay.
that represents right there. That's closeness to shore right there.
Oh, well, all right.
At the time
There.
I visited in August, the nearest lobster pot was about 519 feet down towards the little point there. And there was more out there, little cove, but nothing north of there and nothing at the moment to the east of this site.
Anybody got anything else? Questions?
It definitely is a lot of things going on around that island, Paul, correct?
Yeah, Birch Island's pretty busy.
Boat traffic coming down through there?
From my standpoint, navigation is not an issue with that.
Gotcha.
I would look to the fishing community for their input on that, but.
Yep.
I did talk to multiple lobstermen about this, and they were very concerned about it. I don't lobster out there, so I don't know, but they did raise a big concern about it. But that's all I have.
In October, in June, July, early August. In a few weeks from now, October, November, you're going to see a lot more activity in this area. This got my attention because the very first Harbor and Waterfront Committee meeting that I sat in on just to listen, actually right where the north end of your circle is, somebody was applying for a lease right there. And I believe it was denied.
That was actually Seth that just left, I believe, if I remember correctly, wasn't it, Paul, that
think so.
originally applied for here?
So,
And Seth's is around here, isn't it? The gentleman that just left?
Yeah, it's like,
He's just north of it, right?
By like the number 2 up there.
Yep, that's what I.
so he was
okay.
approved. Well, not for this one, but he moved up to the north.
He moved on
yeah.
the other side of the ledge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's pretty well protected up there. So, we can go down through the checklist, we should do that regardless, but,
I also would mention they are in about 6 feet of water at low tide, I think, on the diagram. I don't know if that was noted. So it's about 6 to 16 feet on the tidal cycle. Yeah.
How do you pull those things into a boat?
Lift them up. Yeah.
Oh,
That's why I don't have cages, Sammy.
I don't know. You can be strong. I don't see how it's possible. Days on.
You work out of a larger vessel, right, with a boom on it? I've seen you.
I've been in a bunch of boats. Yeah. Yeah. So some people use a cleat rope to lift a cage to make it easier, but yeah. Yeah. To answer your question.
we'll go down through the checklist, move it along.
Sure.
Does the proposed activity generate any discharge into the coastal waters? No. Does the applicant propose to use aquaculture gear, markings approved by Commissioner and the rules adopted?
Yes.
If an LPA, does the gear excluding mooring equipment cover more than 400 square feet?
No.
Does the proposed activity present an unreasonable impediment to safe navigation? No. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with commercial fishing activities?
You skipped over one. You skipped over E.
I'm trying to hurry, Billy.
I told you to hurry.
I'm sorry, I did miss that. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with ingress or egress of riparian owners?
No.
No. Proposed activity unreasonably interfere with commercial fishing activities? That seems to be where the concern is, if I'm not mistaken. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with recreational fishing activities? No. Will the proposed activity be unreasonable considering the number of density of other aquaculture activities in the area? No. Does the proposed location, species, or activity present a risk to public health? No. If an LPA, does the applicant hold more than three limited proposed aquaculture licenses issued by the Maine DMR?
I do not.
Do not. Is the consent of the riparian owner obtained if the activity is located above the mean low water mark? Not applicable, I believe. So I guess the main concern here, Paul, is the fishing, commercial fishing activities, spring and fall.
Did you guys have a consensus on F?
There were some concerns. I don't know as we ruled a yes or no, but there's definitely some concerns. Fishing activity in that area.
I don't fish over there, so guys that know the area better would have to speak to it.
They are, just something to keep in mind, they are renewable year to year. So if you were to move forward with a yes, if you find there are concerns over the next year, this committee could recommend to the commissioner that it does not get renewed in the next season. But, that's really up to you guys to make that decision.
And the other thing I think is worth considering, George, is before when you whaleboat, correct?
No, he was goose.
Upper Goose,
Upper
sorry.
Goose.
Upper Goose, that's why that's not my side of the town, I'm in Cundy's Harbor. I get them all confused. But he's moved it technically out of an area that we don't have mapped as commercial fishing on our map, so I think, kind of like Paul alluded to, we have to give him that year to see if it works, and then if we find out that activity's increased in there when we redo the maps, that would be a time that we would redo the map accordingly, if there's more fishing pressure there then, but at this time, we don't have a map that shows there really is.
Yeah, that was my question, the map we did show in it. You just answered it.
It was one of the areas in general that I feel like needs the most attention moving forward is like the shoaler water up under the shores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because there's fewer guys that utilize it versus a lot of the deeper water, but it doesn't make it any less important, areas to those guys. And so I feel like there are guys that I wished I'd reached out to specifically when we were, trying to craft the map.
Yep.
That hopefully this off season or whenever we get back to working, on an update to the map, hopefully we can get some better data around that shoaler water.
There's a lot of area to cover, and this is a great example of how a drone would be super useful. We could cover all of the fishing activity in the entire town every month.
From here, we could fly from here.
Lookout point.
Go look right now.
It would also cost a lot less if we could just get everybody to contribute to the map.
Well, yes.
But it does speak to the wisdom of the map is going to be updated continually. So that's just why.
Yeah.
That
If I
was
may
very
ask-
smart.
Yeah, another question, this copy that we're looking at, is this a completed proposal that you plan on, or do you still have to fill this out?
To the best of my knowledge, what I submitted, I checked everything that was completed at the time I submitted it and signed it
Yeah, you've already submitted this proposal?
to Harbor Master Paul and the committee.
Yeah, I meant the DMR, like page 2 on this proposal is, you haven't filled anything out. I was just wondering if you haven't gone that far yet with the proposal and,
Page 2, is that a checklist page? I'm sorry.
yeah, well, it's designating assistance.
Oh, those, yeah, I'm planning on being there by myself, and then with it being later in the year, when you go through the LPA process, you have the option to assign those.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate you noticing that.
Yeah, thanks.
I'd just like to say, George, that Seth that was here before, he's been really good at trying to move things around and try to work with people, and I think it's really important, as you move forward, is, if you're talking, I think if you're out there and you're finding some concerns, try to like fix those things in the moment, I guess, try to work with people out there. I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah, I
It's
think
important.
going through life, it's definitely important to work with people as we go.
Yeah, definitely, it's important. So,
Communication goes a long ways.
yeah.
Yeah. Would be good for your renewal process as well. If things went well, you'd have support instead of pushback, so.
Okay.
So, sounds like we're good with it, Paul. And, I mean, we may express that there is some concerns with the commercial fishing
All of
activity,
those
but,
as a group, right? That was all three
Yep.
of his LPAs.
yeah, that was all, we did, so that's all three of them
Okay,
at once.
yeah,
That's-
thank
That's
you.
your whole footprint, yeah.
Sweet.
I'll put in this little box here, and I'll catch up with you, but I'll put in the box that what the committee talked about, just concerned about the 1 year. I mean, it's renewable anyways after a year, but just mention that the committee did talk about it specifically, and just have that as a official record, I guess. Make sure there's no issues.
Yeah, okay, and then just to clarify, so is the next step that you will send back a
Signed, yep.
Signed?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
I should have that to you by the end of the week.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you for utilizing the map and moving to a less congested area. It is appreciated.
And coming to the committee, this is the third time, I think.
Third time's a charm.
Award.
Persistence. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
Okay, is Nate Ingersoll here?
Or anybody from Butterfield Shellfish here?
Any comments from the committee?
I think we can go through the checklist, but I think looks similar to stuff we've reviewed before. but-
Yeah, we can
Go
go
through
through
the
we can go through the checklist, but I'd like to comment first that, they applied for a standard lease, and it looks like they've just outlined that same lease with LPAs. I wish they were here so I could ask them.
I wish they were here too,
What
because
what
they emailed
thinking
us
was
a
behind that.
statement as well about some of their relations with other users in their area, and I reached out to a couple of fishermen that fish around their LPAs, and they did not have the same answer that the applicant did. The Ulrichsons were not very pleased with the way the operation had been run over that way, and warned me to be very cautious. So that was not what they had stated in their application.
Or, well, in the letter.
In the
they-
letter, yeah.
I mean, it's not surprising, given that much of what was stated in that letter is refutable at best.
Yeah, at best.
Um,
We'll leave it at that.
They don't seem to be very acquainted, it's odd that they don't seem to be very well acquainted with the area, given how often they've applied for things in the area.
Yep.
I
I'll
mean-
explain the map if you guys want. When I did not do another buoy inventory since I had just done one for the
Right.
standard lease. So the green outline is the previous standard lease application. And just so that you guys know, the little stars are all the commercial fishing buoys from that time. And the reason I put the green outline there is just because there's not more stars, it's because I was just mapping the perimeter of that standard lease. So there could be more activity in the area. I didn't want to underrepresent that. And then the little green lines that you see on there, those are their 4 LPAs. And based on their information, they said they were oriented northwest to southeast. And those lines are scaled appropriately, 133 feet long, which is what they said each little site would be. So that's where the
That-
4 LPAs are.
Trying to pull it, it looks, the orientation looks different to me than what they had drawn on the applications.
I pulled out whatever details they had, and they just said northwest to southeast, so I just did a,
The other thing I noticed was when they applied for the lease
The first one.
in that area,
Yeah,
and then they
that's the one-
applied for
that's
the
the one.
And that
LPAs
one up
within
there
the
was
same
that way,
area,
this one up
the water depth is two different, there's a 20 to a 25-foot difference in what they list as depth on their lease application versus what they list on their LPA application in there for essentially the same area. So there's, at least, I don't know if it's the leased application or the LPA application, but one of them can't be accurate if they're in the same area and they're giving two different accounts for depth.
I frequently transit this area, Matt, and the depth of water where their green, their green outline is actually deeper on that side of the ledge than it is on the west side, where it shows the two deep water channels almost coming together, but it's actually deeper on the east side. I've also noticed, I don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but I noticed we have one fisherman that fishes here, this area his entire season. Like to give him an opportunity to speak if he wants to, or he can give me the no all set. But
Well, the depth is right, I guess. The area doesn't seem like a very good spot, A lot of those buoys that are all marked, those are mine. And there's a lot of people that fish in there, right from April right to December. And that's what we count on. Doesn't get messed up with storms and
right.
and all that stuff, and maintain our gear. And there's a lot of stuff going on there. So
You don't fish a large gang of gear, do you, Jason?
no.
So that's a big portion of where you fish is right there.
Yeah. That's about a third of what I haul a day.
Yeah.
Right there. So
I've never fished up and around those ledges, but where I fish over the east around Bond Down and stuff, I've always looked at that and just figured, well, it's the Bond Down to the western bay.
Right,
Ledges
yeah.
around it, it
Yep.
just looks like it'd be
Yep.
lovely to.
Yep.
I used to fish it when I was in my punt, and we've
Yeah.
scallops right in that area.
Yep. Yeah,
Since-
It's a good little gravel bed.
Since you're there for clearly a significant amount of the time, like in the peak season, how much gear do you think is there? If you had to guess, just rough estimate, is it pretty darn crowded? We talking, because when Darcy went out, would you have 30 buoys?
Yeah,
But I think
30.
that was after the
That was-
spurt
that
had
was in
happened
Au- that was
type
in-
of thing.
That was the first week of August.
Yeah, but you go in there in June.
Right, that's what I'm saying. How many like are in
That's
there?
where the
in
shutters
June?
start.
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, easily.
That's the shutter heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Early birth.
Yeah. Shh. And it's a
It's
it's certainly a fragile environment.
I wondered about
So.
What happened with
Thank
the
you.
standard lease application?
Thank you, Jason.
Well, that's another
Thank you.
question. That's kind of why I started the way I did. What do we know what's going on with their standard lease ball, or?
So they have, is it 90 days from their pre-application meeting to submit a full application to the state? So they had that pre-application, which Chairman and Selectman Geely sat with me on. But DMR told them there's a 3-year turnaround process for that, so they said, and I think they had said in that meeting, they were hoping to basically get started with LPAs.
I see. Okay, so there is. a
Did we
spread.
mention, Paul, what DMR mentioned in that pre-application meeting about their gear?
DMR did say that they will review for capacity, like company capacity.
Well, remember they asked if they had the ability to operate at least that size.
Exactly, so that's what they're saying
Yeah.
is if they will review and DMR acknowledged that they had heard, they've evaluated concerns in Yarmouth about their existing gear. And they defended that in the meeting, but DMR reiterated that they will evaluate for that,
Whether they have the ability to tend that.
what they have.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so they have 90 days to file an application.
A completed application, yeah.
And did they indicate whether they intended to do so still after the meeting, or?
They didn't say, but I felt like they were still moving forward.
I think so too, yeah.
And then they applied, and they're applying for these 4 leases, or LPAs in the meantime. And this is in the same area that they had applied for, what, 11 LPAs last year?
Yeah, with the Harbor and
16.
Waterfront, yeah.
I thought it was 18.
Well, I think there was like,
That's what
I think there were like 18 total at that Harbor and Waterfront committee meeting, but 11
Oh,
of them
okay.
were theirs, I
Thank
think,
you.
or something like that. It was a busy Harbor and Waterfront committee meeting, I think. It just seems like, they seem very determined.
Well,
where despite questions being raised.
It isn't up to us, but I went looking at the regs because you can only have so many LPAs as a person, and you can only have so many assistants. You can only be assistant on 8. So, but I mean, that's not up to us. That would be DMR looking at that, but it made me wonder.
Well, it is on the checklist, I suppose, the more than 3 other LPAs you would, I mean, obviously, they're, well, what is it? It was Butterfield Sea Farm that was applying for the LPA, but it's Nate Ingersoll individually applying for these LPAs specifically, so he must not have.
I think we just go down through the checklist.
Yeah, use the list.
Let's go through the list. I assume we're gonna run into some of the same issues as we had prior, but are we gonna approach this all 4 at the same time, basically?
Yeah, if you're comfortable with that, you might as well, yeah.
Committee good with that?
Yep.
Yeah, they all lie within,
Yeah. Yeah, they may not have the same issues as prior with each LPA, but overall, I'm afraid they're going to run into the same. But we'll do the checklist anyway, so. Does the proposed activity generate any discharge into coastal waters? Do we know?
I don't think, do we know? I don't think it does.
I think that's for penned fish.
Yeah, that's
Not
what I
penned
think
fish.
too, you're right.
Okay. Does the applicant propose to use aquaculture gear markings approved by the commissioner and the rules adopted? I'm assuming yes. If an LPA, does the gear exclude mooring equipment cover more than 400 square feet?
No.
Does the proposed activity present an unreasonable impediment to safe navigation?
Staff says yes.
I believe it does, yes. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with ingress or egress of riparian owners? No. Does there was some concern about access to the campground. So while it wouldn't be the owners, it may be people using the island as well. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with commercial fishing activities? I think
Yes.
yes. Does the proposed activity unreasonably interfere with recreational fishing activities?
I don't know.
I think they can work around it. Although if you knew how many sabiki rigs I pull out of my end lines over in that area, you may think differently. Will the proposed activity be unreasonable considering the number of density of other aquaculture activities in the area? No. Does the proposed location, species, or activity present a risk to public health? No. If an LPA, does the applicant hold more than 3 limited-purpose aquaculture licenses issued by the Maine DMR? I believe it's.
We don't really know
For
because we're
sure.
not here to put
We know they
NA,
applied for several, but,
I don't know.
so we'll put not applicable,
I guess,
because
yeah.
we don't really know the answer.
It is
know,
applicable.
is there-
It is
in-
applicable, though.
is there like a is there
Yes,
something
there
within
is.
DMR that
Yeah.
we could
Yep.
search to find
Oh,
the
we
answer
can,
to that?
with LPs.
You can ask them, but I don't know.
There's nothing you could
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
that we could like research that ourselves.
It wouldn't be on the LPA list?
No, there's limited stuff in there, like once LPAs have been granted.
Oh,
it'll-
yeah, you just see them
Yeah.
when they're in the,
Yeah,
the-
it'll say whose it is, and I don't think it gives her, like, whose it is and the GPS points, and that's about it.
It lists proposals too,
Yeah.
applicants, but
Yeah.
this isn't there yet. So I think that's a question.
Is the consent of the riparian owner obtained and if the activity located above mean low or high water mark?
doesn't apply.
Not applicable. So, any other comments on this? I think
Thank you.
we have the same concerns with the LPAs as we did with the standard lease, unfortunately, moving forward.
I will retype this up and list everything that was said here in this box, send it to the committee, and I'll just ask the chairman for your signature.
Sure,
something.
absolutely, yeah, give me, I'll swing by anytime. Okay, any more comments on so far?
Yeah,
Good.
actually, with the Ingersoll's application, we're seeing a fragmented application. It'd be nice if we had a completed application in front of us. Because always, in my experience, like through the Marine Resource Committee, we've gone over things like this before, and it wasn't a completed application. There were changes made after the fact, before it was submitted. So it would be good for all of us if we had a completed application, the exact application that's going to be submitted to DMR.
Okay.
So,
Is that something that we can require, Paul, as a committee, that the application, like, for example, the planning board, they require that before they even review it, that the application is complete? Does DMR, or could we require the same thing, that the application is at least complete? You know, and maybe that's our first check box, you know, yes, the application has everything filled out.
I don't see why not. I would ask Jay, you know, kind of your experience with statute. You know, nothing says that the town can't require. Would you agree that you could make that recommendation?
I guess they'll tell us if we're wrong, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
I
so.
think you guys can't adequately assess some of these interferences unless you know the type of gear. and,
Right.
Well,
you know,
at the same
permits
time,
and-
that they, after, you know, assuming they were here, like
You could
our
ask them.
multi-timer here,
Yeah.
could make some changes after the fact.
Yeah.
But- So how would you track changes they've made after input? I think you give that, they could come back a second time.
yeah,
So
That should be our first box, is the
Yeah.
application.
Complete.
I
Complete.
think it's fair to say, is
If
it
it's no,
complete?
then we just don't go any further.
Yeah, because in the past, like.
Do they add that, Paul?
Yeah.
To the top?
Yeah.
Take a vote on that?
And then they
Okay,
can
you
come
wanna?
back.
That-
Yeah.
So Bill, you want to make a motion
Make a motion, we add to our checklist to make sure that the application is complete before review,
at the top?
at the top, very
And if
first.
the answer is no, then the checklist is done.
I like
Yeah,
it.
that would trump everything.
I like it.
Jerry, second by Jerry. All in favor?
Right.
Can I, point
Oh.
of clarification?
Yep.
Do you want me to be reviewing that prior to sending it to the committee to make sure it's completed? Or do you guys want to see it raw as it comes to the town?
Ooh.
We could always look at what they send and see what they change.
We don't, no, well, we don't do the checklist till we're here. So
Yeah.
if it winds up at committee and we look and it's incomplete, we'll put Deputy Dave on it. He picked it up.
You can kind of do a quick scan,
I'll
maybe,
give it-
Paul,
yeah,
if it
yeah,
looks
it's not
good,
hard.
and then we can review
me a
it
look.
more
Okay.
in depth when it gets to this point type of thing, you know,
Gotcha.
like if David was just speaking to some of the examples and stuff
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I've flagged a couple before, prior to this, where it was like they were in shallower water and they didn't realize that they had to go before the Marine Resource
Right.
Committee, so they, I think, Paul probably sent it back, so they can fix that,
Yep.
so.
I think also if the applicant was present and there was like a minor, something like that, like Darcy just suggested, and they said, yes, I overlooked that. It is this depth, that we certainly should take that into consideration and not just fail the application because it was not written down originally, so.
Well, and if it stops at, no, it's not complete, that doesn't mean they can't come back, does it?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely
So
not,
then
no.
you're good.
Right.
Yeah.
You good?
Another one.
Yes.
Good, nice job.
Thank you.
So, new business, Allison had reached out and asked me to open a conversation about mooring availability prior to her finding out she was unable to be here this evening. She had a conflict, but would like to open the conversation. We're not going to make any big decisions tonight, but would like to briefly talk about, it seems as there's an issue over to Cundy's Harbor where there's no more room. And she's afraid that commercial boats are going to be pushed out by recreational boats or people just buying moorings to have the spot. This came up because somebody that was either retiring or getting out of the business wanted to sell their mooring to a young fisherman. And the sale of the mooring's fine, but you don't have the spot. Whoever's on the waiting list has a spot. So maybe lean on Billy a little. I'm sure you have a lot of experience in this, and Paul as well. If you guys could just give us some insight, and maybe we could start thinking about this and put it on the next agenda.
I think it highlights the need for us to do plans here and kind of put some money into,
Yeah.
you know, trying to organize some of the spaces, because there is space out there probably, but it's just everyone's kind of, it's not organized. I think having some help, like Paul's saying, it's like, we should have a plan there.
Yeah, in the prior meeting, that's actually why I came early. I heard something that I had never thought about was there's no ordinance or restriction on the length of scope. And if one person's got 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, and his neighbor's got 2-to-1, you know, and then of course the size of your boat, you buy a new boat, you put it on the same mooring, and it's 10 feet longer than the one you had, starts to make some issues. So I agree, we definitely need to take a look at this.
I think that's more harbor and waterfront, though, that should look at that. I mean, what do you think, Billy? You're the chair of harbor and waterfront.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
think
sit
so,
on that.
but we need help with it, you know, we need
Yeah,
some
do
money.
you want, all right.
Yeah, we need,
Yeah.
we talked about that, trying to find some funding. You know, it doesn't matter in a harbor where it's not closed, but in a closed harbor, it's, you know.
Yeah.
Is the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association grant gonna address this kind of thing?
No.
We don't, okay.
That's more land-based infrastructure.
Thanks. They could get another grant.
I mean, if it's, you know, I certainly would think it'd be, you know, if the Fisheries Committee had an opinion about, you know, potential changes to the way that the waiting list system works or something like that, you know, as it pertains to, but otherwise it's, so as far as I know, there's two separate waiting lists, correct? One for commercial fishermen and one for.
It's just
recreation.
priority, so it's one list, but if you're a commercial fisherman, you hold a higher priority. If you're there's different priorities set in ordinance, but yeah, commercial fishermen's top amongst
Right.
riparian owners.
And there's also things in place that allow for the transfer of moorings between family members.
Immediate family members.
Even within a closed cove.
Yep.
And
As long as
and
it
things
stays
like
in
that.
commercial
So there-
fishing.
Right.
Yep.
So there are, you know, there are some, you know, there are some things already in place that give commercial fishermen preference over other people when even in a closed cove.
I mean, maybe
But-
we can start looking at the harbors and how many commercial fishing moorings there are there now. And we'll just say there's 100 moorings in Cundy's Harbor and 60 of them are commercial fishing. Maybe we can set, like, guarantee that there will always be 60 commercial fishing moorings. You know, don't ever let that number drop. If anything, maybe try to increase it. Something like that. So then at least you know they aren't going to get pushed out.
Paul, can you talk about what would happen in a spot like this where this guy gives up his spot? How do you fill the spot? Like, what's the process?
So like we have a Cundy's Harbor wait list. If this individual were to just give up the spot right now and not keep registering it, it would go to the next person on the wait list. So that could be the next available commercial fisherman, if there is one. It could be a riparian owner who wants their mooring closer to their property because they do have that right to have it reasonably fronting their property. So if a spot becomes available, by Maine statute, they have the right to put it closer to their property. Just one mooring, you have that right to. So that's what happens in a closed harbor. So it's really important for commercial fishermen to maintain their position on a wait list. And maybe this is a good time to tell everybody, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you may put your name on a wait list once with the former harbor master and thought that your name had been continued. The select board changed that about 5, 6 years ago, where you now have to annually update your wait list position. So folks who may have thought they've been on a wait list for Garrison Cove for years are realizing now they haven't been on the list for numerous years. So, you know, and we did try and reach out, but of course, emails get outdated, phone numbers get outdated. It's, people always joke with the harbor master department, like, oh, you see my boat, there's 2,300 moorings. It's hard for us to keep track of whose boat's whose and who, you know. And if I could just, while I'm on my soapbox here, another thing that would really help us, and I'm gonna pick on Cundy's Harbor just because we're right here.
Yeah.
I'm coming to see you guys next.
Look at all the orange. These are just moorings that we can't identify because there's no numbers on them.
Wait, go up
It's
to
like
the head of
almost-
the harbor.
It's like almost half of them.
Yeah.
Go, no, the head of the harbor up north. All right, mine are all identified.
You know, there could be a bunch of these that are derelict and abandoned that we could remove and make more room for people, but we also don't want to come over there and remove someone's mooring, and now we got a very upset fisherman because they come
Trying
back
to
to
not be
fishing.
heavy-handed about it.
Right.
Yeah, like,
You gotta work.
But there's a problem.
Work with people.
That should be all green.
And
Right.
In a closed harbor, it needs to be green.
I mean, I
Yes.
think a big part of that is to try and work with the people that are there, that, you know, Matt
Yeah.
and the other wharves that are there, and and try and.
Green on our side.
So Darcy's been great. We've sent her around to each commercial fishing wharf on the west side of town, making her way east.
I saw her in the cove when I come in there.
So Ash Cove was today, so you can see.
Yeah, so they're all sorted out pretty much.
I mean, it's great. You know, I still have a little bit of work to do with interstate, but yeah, it's working out really well, and we hope to get rid of all the orange
Yeah.
before
I think when
December.
you came in the cove at Interstate, Brian went out
Yeah.
in the skiff with you,
Yeah.
right? So, you know,
So,
if guys could
Yeah.
just, if guys could just hop in with her.
Hop on the boat with me, we just nose up to each mooring, you tell me whose that is, I take a new waypoint, I write the name down, and then I do all this on the back end after we're done, but I need someone from.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that at all. I was
I'm
just
on
gonna,
Saturday.
what?
Let's go, I'm on Saturday.
I don't do weekends. I have to draw a line in the sand somewhere with this, and I draw it on the weekends.
Maybe somebody over there will hop on.
But what I was gonna say is, even if you sent me, is this available to the public, or is it just you that has access?
Staff has access because it's a program that has everyone's information.
You have to be on the water.
You are staff, so you can have access to it.
Could I have access?
Yes.
Because I was gonna say, if I had access to it, I can tell you 95% of them.
In some cases, the orange stuff might have been something they wrote down from last year, but now it's not there. Or
Right.
moved. So we really need a physical right now inventory and then organize it, so. Connie's Harbors is next.
Connie's Harbors is bad.
It's terrible.
Bad.
Macro Cove and Cunningham.
Shut them down.
Let's show Macro Cove. Let's not be biased here.
Yeah,
Let's-
you know, and I'll say that Interstate wouldn't look as good as it does if it weren't for
Ooh,
the fact
yeah,
that
Macro
Brian-
Cove.
Yeah, look at
Come
Max.
on.
Boys.
That too.
Guys.
Yeah.
We're busy.
Jeez.
Some of us have to go to work on the weekend.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people standing on those wharfs when I go over there.
Can't cut into that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Goes hand in hand with the beer.
But yeah, it'd be great to have that on the.
Yeah, I
on the
will help you
agenda
with that.
Next week, you know, or whenever we have
Next
time.
month,
in the
yep.
Next, or yeah.
Yep. Correct, yep.
To talk about it more.
So we're-
And I can
we're in
connect you,
agreement to
Darcy.
continue
Let's
that
talk after.
Conversation?
Continue it, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
And the Harbor Waterfront Committee is really, it's really their job
Yeah.
to try and oversee that, but.
However
obviously more
we can be
people looking at it.
helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
In that process.
Any positive suggestions would be.
I just think that sometimes people that complain about it aren't registering their moorings.
Right, yeah.
So I'm
I
always
can tell
encouraging
you, I've
people,
seen like almost no numbers on
Yeah.
most of the moorings.
if you want your spot and keep your spot, put your name on it, put the number on it, register your mooring,
Yeah.
be part of the solution. Try to get green on that screen.
Green on the screen.
There you go. That's the motto.
You know,
We like that.
it's huge,
Green.
you know, what the work that Darcy's been doing is huge too, in getting people to work with, you know, because like I can say, there's no number on my ball right now, it's worn off, you know.
It's
and
in the system, I
And
mapped
it's,
it today.
well, I know,
There it is.
because, you know, because you had somebody in the skip with you that could tell you, this is everybody, you know, otherwise, if Brian hadn't been with you that day, then mine might be an orange. You know what I mean? And it's hard, I have sympathy. It's hard when you have a mooring that you're trying to maintain year-round. You know, a lot of the recreational moorings and stuff, the balls come out of the water in the wintertime. It's a lot easier to keep them lettered and numbered and all that. So it's great
You
to
could take
have
it
some
down.
collaboration and,
That'll be some money.
Yeah.
what's that?
Ticket, you guys. That'll give us.
You know
some
what,
money.
Sammy?
I'll be honest.
It's okay. I
so
got in trouble for one of my balls out on my farm the other day too.
and I don't want to advertise this too much, but obviously now that it's out there in video world, we just want to know once, like, if your mooring never moves, Chris, we know where your mooring is. Tell us this is your mooring. We know that number.
Yeah.
Boom, it's in the system. As long as it doesn't move, we always know that's going to be Chris McIntyre's mooring.
Right.
That's what we're shooting for this year.
But
Right.
we need to get to that point
Yep.
first before
Right.
we can see that.
Yep.
Good.
Question, Paul?
What?
Dave, what Matt had brought up about
Yeah, probably.
setting some sort of limit, X number are gonna be commercial, does the ordinance allow that?
It doesn't specifically right now, no.
So it would need a change to be
Is
able
that a
to,
state
okay,
thing or a town thing?
That would be a town thing. You could, yeah.
yeah.
At the end of the day, the only thing we have to do is allow 10% non-resident in any closed field.
Isn't there? It's weird that the state allows us to permit moorings in their waters, but the state
foreign
perm.
development
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
I
not.
can answer really quick. So what it is Army Corps of Engineers holds the ultimate authority over this. They first delegated to the state. The state doesn't have the resources to send a marine patrol officer to every town to authorize moorings. So the state said, we will delegate the towns to do this with, and they have to have a harbor master if there are people requesting moorings. So that's where the trickle down is, from federal government right down to local level.
Much like in the aquaculture side of things, you know, I mean, the town has whatever power the state lets us have, you know, well, you know, I mean, you know, there are ways that the town is involved in the process.
Yep.
And with moorings, they just said you can kind of have.
Yeah, they give us the red-headed strip.
That would be great.
Anything else on moorings for tonight? No, we're good. Not on the agenda, but I think David has something he'd like to
Yeah,
mention.
I mean, I wanted to run it by this committee and, like, your thoughts, and if this is too far-fetched, requesting DMR based on the scale of the footprint of the lease and the number of Top Gear, if we could request a P90 station be put in the middle of that footprint. I know there's more to it than that. You're gonna need a lab to, I don't know if that's, like,
I can tell you, there's no labs in the state of Maine that carry the certification to do scores that the DMR will accept to calculate a P90. You can do informational testing through some of the other labs, but in order for it to be officially rolled in and used as a score for a P90 for a barometer classification, it would have to be done in an FDA inspected and certified lab, and there are no labs that do that in Maine. So you really have to get DMR to come on board and agree to take on the extra load of adding that station on. So maybe like feel them out and see what the temperature is for them to add more stuff. Generally, they're typically overworked and they have too much stuff anyway. But if you can make the case, or if it serves another purpose in that area, I think it's nice to know if there's going to be impact or not from aquaculture.
well, I mean, it all falls on public health and safety, and, you know, some of the size of these footprints and the defecating that it promotes from waterfowl, I have big concerns about it. And I brought this up a couple years ago and didn't get anywhere with it, and it's too bad. It's too bad we didn't have our own lab and we could run our own sampling it, but then again, we would need, you know, we'd need leaseholders that are compliant with it and willing to do that. I don't think you're gonna find too many of them that are gonna play Russian roulette, finding out that, you know, what their practice is not good. So, I kind of figured that would be the case, but it's really unfortunate that that's the case.
It's worth asking DMR anyway. It might open the conversation for something for them to be thinking about or adding to what they consider when they're looking at all of this stuff, so.
Yeah.
And staff has changed, so it might be worth.
Maybe put it on next month's agenda that we can discuss it and take a vote as a committee to maybe send a letter that, like, George, the chair, and, I don't know, Paul and myself can sign off on, you know, from the committee saying we request this P90 station for reasons X, Y, Z, or whatnot, you know.
And keep in mind too, David, in addition to official P90 stations, back in the day when they were doing a lot more stuff, they could activate stream monitoring stations. They can activate other stations to specifically monitor pollution sources they were worried about. So that's another option, maybe. It'll just come back to if it's something that DMR is going to use that information, they would need to run it through their lab. Unless you just want informational stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. See where that goes. See how they do.
Well, I know, like in the past, Cog Bay Conservancy, I brought them stream samples that, you know, gave us the ability to narrow things down in a problematic area. But this would be asking, I mean, there's a catch-22 to this, asking DMR to do so.
Is it all new leases? Is that what?
Just existing leases. Like, it's really based on the scale and the amount of float gear. I mean, it would be for big outfits, big operations.
Is it the type of thing that if you had like grant funding to look into, water quality in this area or whatever that that we could just take and put one
It would
up
be,
against a lease and,
Yeah, I mean, you
and
could-
do it, and do your own,
it would all
research.
bear on a certified lab at the end of the day.
well, right, yeah, but if you had grant money to do it or something, then we could just put one of those stations next to a bigger farm and,
Yeah.
and then send it out to a certified lab and get the results back and,
I'd love
No.
I'd love if we could do that
I
down
mean,
the
if
road
it's-
in the
You answer
future.
a lot of questions.
given,
Beneficial.
granted that
Yeah.
you couldn't get DMR to make it some
Right.
sort of requirement, I'm just thinking like, I mean, obviously, the monitoring of water quality is certainly something that grants have been awarded towards
Yeah, you
and,
wanna talk to, like Cohog Bay Conservancy has there's like a little kind of mini version of what the state does. It's not the same MTech stuff. It's a quantity tray system that IDEX sells, and they have that at their lab space. I helped them get that set up at one point a few years ago. So
Mhm.
you may want to approach them as a group and see if they'd like to collaborate on maybe just running some trial tests of an area
Mhm.
through their little system. It's not necessarily going to be data that the DMR will use to make big changes, but it could be
Right,
informational
but it
and
could-
guide you.
let you know whether it was
Yeah.
worth it to go further down the road.
Yeah, they're
Is-
fairly good about working with groups, so
Yeah.
if you guys want to approach them, that's
Yeah,
another kind of
they
easier
were
avenue
excellent.
to
They'll
start.
do stuff.
I was just thinking, there's nothing that says that you can't put a P90 station right up against, you might not be able to put it in the middle of the farm, but you can put it right up against the border of it,
Yeah.
and,
Do you know what Bowden's capacity is?
I don't know, I don't know what their microbiology capacity is, but like I know Cohog Bay Conservancy has a unit, and they do regular little testing around the bay. So, I actually asked them if they would consider adding, I was gonna do the same thing at my farm, like just add a spot near my farm so I could keep an eye on it, so. I know the capacity's there, and I think if you guys approach them, they'd probably be, down to do, they're not gonna get overwhelmed. I don't think you could bring in 50 samples, but,
Yeah.
have a conversation and see if they'll start pick an area and
Yeah.
see if they'll work with you. Just to
Does
answer
Friends
that
of Casco Bay,
I'm sure.
are they,
microbiology is like a whole separate skill set.
they do
so-
water testing, but not,
They look, and I think they send their stuff out to UMaine. They do like the nitrate stuff, and that's not even done by them. It's done at the university. So.
I mean, in my experience with, the water quality, and like, it's fragile and it can be influenced, like, very easily. And just the way some of these operations are set up right now and the amount of waterfowl, I rack my brain, like, how it can be like that. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could, I don't know how we go about doing it. We'd have to pick the locations and get in touch with Coral Bay Conservancy.
Maybe get it on next month's agenda.
Yep.
We can talk about it.
Invite them maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
that's a
we
good
get
idea.
representative
They
from there.
certainly would send somebody over, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably,
They're good that way.
Yeah.
Dave or.
Awesome.
or Al,
Thank you.
Yeah, Dave
Thank you,
or Al or
Darcy.
somebody. Any further comments on,
The only thing I'm just gonna add real quick is, we have these folks from Envision Resilience, they, and some students from Virginia Tech, they, took the time to make this three-dimensional, map of Harpswell and, the bathymetry around it and stuff, and they were looking to talk to some fishermen about some different stuff, so if any of you guys had some time to hang out after and talk with these folks, they've, been nice enough to bring this all the way up from Virginia for us and take some time.
certainly.
It'd be worth it. They're pretty cool people.
Thank you, Matt. I know Billy's gonna be disappointed, but I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Pretty good, you're just under an hour.
We're getting better every time. We're improving every time.
Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all.